CBS 7 News presents Closer Look.
Welcome to Closer Look. I'm Macy Marigi. If you've been out to eat lately or at the grocery store, you may have noticed a significant hike in the prices for meat. Now, joining us live via Skype is financial strategist and co-founder of GuardVest, Audie Apple. Audie, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Macy. Glad to be here.
So, Audie, why are we paying more for meat? This doesn't have anything to do with the Clive and Bundy over in Arizona, does it?
No, I don't think so. I'll just take everybody back to, our economics class, whenever that was. It's just an imbalance in supply and demand. And so, in some cases, it's a matter of unexpected acceleration in demand. That's not the case here. And it's one of the other cases in which supply is constrained, and that creates the imbalance. And that's really what we're experiencing with beef prices right now.
And why are we experiencing such a shortage?
Well, I think as a lot of your viewers are going to understand, we've been having drought conditions, even extreme drought conditions, in a lot of the beef-producing regions, for example, Texas and Oklahoma, and that's caused a lot of spike in prices and thinned out herds. It's more expensive on ranchers because there's not as much natural free grazing available. They have to supplement those diets with grain that's more expensive. And also the feedstock, the cattle themselves, to replenish those herds is more expensive. So that's down. And it's going to take a while before that actually turns around, because it just takes a little while to get that herd built back up. Gestation for a calf is 9 months, and it takes 22 to 24 months for that calf to reach slaughter weight. So this is an imbalance that's going to be with us for a while, and it's what's led to some pretty startling. Even though overall consumer price inflation is quite under control, if you look at ground beef, for example, since 2009, it's up over 70%. So this is one area of the economy that's definitely experiencing pretty rapid inflation.
Now, who's getting the worst deal here? Is it the producers or is it the buyers?
Well, things like this usually start hurting the producer themselves, because, economic theory would suggest, and it tends to bear out, prices are, consumers are a little bit, inflexible as regard to prices, so producers are very hesitant to try to pass those prices along because they're afraid they're going to lose market share. But when the condition is sustained over a period of time, they really have no choice. They have to pass those prices along, and so now you're seeing it work through the end of the chain. It shows up first in grocery stores. Restaurants are an area where it's one of the last to show up, but it's even showing up there. Chipotle has announced some pretty significant price increases on the beef ingredient dishes that they serve. Sonic with their hamburgers. So, it's starting to show up there as well, because this has been going on for a while. Now,
how long can we expect for this to go on at this point?
Well, I think, as long as the drought conditions are what they've been, and now that seems to be improving a bit, that's going to play a role, and just the higher prices. But the demand and the higher prices itself, that's sort of the theory of the old Adam Smith invisible hand. When the prices that the end consumers pay for the product is adjusted to reflect that higher cost of production, then that motivates the producers, i.e. the ranchers, to make the necessary investment to supply that product. And, you're going to see this work itself out over the next couple of years, I'm sure.
Well, would now be the time to pick up the whole pescatarian thing and just stay away from meat? Or, how can we save here?
Well, I guess it just depends on how much you got to have meat. There is a material increase in the price, and it's definitely something that is enough to make an impact. I've heard anecdotal evidence from interviews, folks talking about going from, beef 5 or 6 days a week, maybe once or twice. But, I think that when you really put this in the context of your overall budget, it really doesn't impact folks nearly as much as they may think at first blush. And the reason for that is, when you go to the grocery store, you're reminded immediately as you write that check that those T-bones I bought last year were 30–40% less. And, things that are much bigger elements of your overall budget are just automatically paid, like your mortgage, your rent. If you look at the consumer price index, it really is what our Federal Reserve uses to monitor overall price increases in the economy. Housing is 40% of the pie. Food is actually only 15% of the pie. But I think because of the way we pay for it, it's very noticeable to us.
You see that receipt every time you walk out of the store.
You're reminded.
Well, Audie, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Macy.